another video. My bad, y'all. I took a good day or two off of doing the vids. You know, I've been pumping them out nonstop. I took a little break. But this video he went on Joe Rogan Podcast, then killed someone 38 days later. So, yeah, I don't really know. I guess it's supposed to do with a dude by the name of Sheldon Johnson. He went on the Joe Rogan Podcast, and he ended up killing somebody. What? A month later? So we're going to go ahead and get into the video. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment. Let's go.
On the 1st of February 2024, Sheldon Johnson appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience. 38 days later, he was arrested and charged with murder. It was episode 2096, with Joe Rogan, Sheldon Johnson, and another person named Josh Dubin. Josh had been on the podcast 6 different times before, explaining on an earlier episode that he was a lawyer who worked with wrongfully convicted felons.
We're here to get the word out about wrongful convictions.
In 3 out of 6 of Josh's appearances, he'd bring these wrongful convicts to tell their story.
He spent 3 decades in jail for murders that he didn't commit.
So when Josh brought in Sheldon Johnson, it seemed this would be another positive episode, but it quickly became apparent that Sheldon was slightly different.
I figured we'd do something a little bit different. Typically, the person sitting to my right is someone that was wrongfully convicted. Sheldon is guilty.
Sheldon had only just been released from a 25-year prison stint, but Josh had brought him on specifically as an example of someone who'd been given an unfair amount of time, believing Sheldon never deserved his 25 years in prison.
What you mean, undeserved amount of time? Bro, you are in New York. Nigga, you can't even have a gun out there. You know how many stipulations you got to go through? Your black ass was not, you ain't get that gun legally, bro. And then you doing 2 armed robberies. For anybody that's doing the armed robbery, I hope you know that you're going to get the same amount of time as if you killed the person. Like, you going to get the same amount of time. That's why some people, when they do armed robberies, they just get them out the way. Because that's one less person to tell. You're going to get the same amount of time anyway. So, dude right here, I guess because he didn't hurt anybody in the robbery, they feel like he shouldn't have got 25 years. But, bro, you deserve every bit of that 25. You should have got more than that. Really?
You can be the judge of that. Born 1975, Sheldon Johnson grew up in...
Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Y'all think you should get 25 years or more for armed robbery? Is that too much? I think that's just
Martin
right.
Luther King Jr. Towers, aka a poverty-stricken housing project in Harlem, New York City.
That
His
shit look like
entire
Oblong.
family tree had been in and out of prisons.
My father was incarcerated. He did about 15 years. I was incarcerated. My grandfather was incarcerated. My great-grandfather was a slave. And my son killed somebody when he was 12 years old.
While Sheldon was the only one in his...
What the fuck? What is wrong with y'all family? Yo, grandpa went to jail. His dad went to jail. His dad went to jail. The mother, a slave. Where did that even come? Why he just throw that random slave fact in there? Yeah, she was a slave. What the fuck does that have to do with
I was
what you're talking
incarcerated.
about?
My grandfather was incarcerated. My great-grandfather was a slave. And my son
So where was your dad? I don't like how you skipped over the
killed
dad.
somebody when he was 12 years old.
While Sheldon was the only one in his family who had functional hearing.
My mother's deaf, my father's deaf, my sister's deaf, my aunt is deaf. I grew up in a deaf household.
Therefore, his father, a drug dealer, brought Sheldon along to help him translate deals and...
What type of dumb nigga? What the fuck? You're deaf selling drugs? You gonna bring your son with you to sell drugs because you can't hear, nigga? And why is you killing niggas if you can't hear? It's not even like they said something out of pocket to you. You can't fucking hear. No disrespect to anybody that's deaf, but how the fuck you a deaf criminal like this?
By the age of 12, Sheldon had joined the exact same line of work.
I started selling drugs. Guy offered me an opportunity to be a lookout, and I would just stand there, and eventually I just slowly moved up the ranks. It turned me into this person that I was never meant to be.
As a result, he began to rack up charges.
Driving without a license, standing on the corner, little small petty drug cases.
And spent most of his teens in the Rikers Island prison, although it'd be after his release at the age of
Sent his
21
ass to
that
Rikers.
things went downhill badly. He'd commit 2 different armed robberies, receiving a sentence of 50 years in prison, which Josh argued was incredibly unfair, given only one person received minor injuries.
He got hit in the head with the gun right here on the side of his head.
What the fuck you mean? It's the potential that you could have killed somebody. So let's say you pistol whip dude in the back of his head and he decided to knock the shit out you. You probably would have shot dude. Like, it's not just because you didn't kill somebody. It's the chance that you could have and the likelihood that you are willing to do that. So the fact that you hit niggas and beating them and you he pistol whipped them on the side of his head, bro, you were willing to kill dude. You should have, I ain't gonna lie.
I got 2 stitches, and they gave me 25 years for that case. Did you hit him?
Needed 25.
Regardless, prison is where Sheldon
Then who the fuck hit him? Niggas be lying.
realized he had to turn his life around.
It was at that moment I really said I have to change my life. I just can't do this.
Beginning a prison journal about hope, change, and reform. In his entry letter to my younger self, it explained just because you're surrounded by violence does not mean that violence is the way to solve your problems. Sheldon, 2 wrongs do not make a right. Violence only begets violence. Learn how to respond and not react. In a different entry, he'd state, as we know, I'm currently in prison, which I've learned does one of 2 significant things to its occupants. Brings the best out of them or the worst.
I saw individuals who were at their worst, and I saw guys who were at their best. The guys who were at their best were guys who were involved in education, post-secondary education programs.
Realizing the role model prisoners were those with an education, Sheldon spent years educating himself.
I got into school, I got my GED, and then I went on to obtain my bachelor's in behavioral science from Mercy. I stopped smoking weed, I stopped smoking cigarettes. I started working in the law library. I discovered that I had a knack for complicated things, case law, and I was actually helping guys get out of prison.
He'd further add to his journal, I have grown dramatically in these 14 years, when I could have easily withered away. I've learned that I love Shakespeare, that I love acting, that I love writing, that I enjoy reading philosophy, that I love reading criminal law, that I love writing legalese. Sheldon had changed his life to such an extent, BuzzFeed advocated for his release back in 2016. He became a model inmate, said David Roth, the prison social worker. His days were so full that he went to bed exhausted and fell asleep immediately. As a result of his good behavior, Sheldon was released after 25 years of his 50-year sentence.
Okay, so what the fuck is he complaining about? Bro, you just did. You're so damn near supposed to be in there for your life. My brother, what, you was 21? And you got 50 years, bro. You only did half of the time. Why is he? Come on.
Appearing on a podcast called Success After Lockdown, on which he'd implied that he'd never go back to prison.
I'm reflecting, I'm saying to myself like, yo, I can't spend the next 50 years like this.
When he'd appear on Joe Rogan 1 month later, Sheldon again implied that he wouldn't go back to jail.
Individuals who have been shown to acquire associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees are like 92% less likely to return back to prison.
With Josh using Sheldon as an example, that change was all
Somebody fact check that. Is that actually true?
possible.
How do you make change happen? He's living it and making it happen. Look at this beautiful mind and how he articulates himself.
He began working for the Queen's Defenders, helping troubled youth,
I'm trying to catch these kids before they fall, and I want to show them the way.
and even began to consider more formal education,
Sheldon asked me, should I go to law school before we came here?
in the process expressing his disbelief that he'd turned his life around.
I just came from the bowels of hell. 25 years in prison, and now I'm in the sky above the clouds in the heavens, headed to a destination to talk about change and to talk about all of the things that brought me to this place today.
Joe Rogan even posted a clip titled, Sentenced to 50 Years, Sheldon Johnson decided to turn his life around. However, Sheldon would make one final important claim.
But this is how fast your life can change from just one.
Reality only 38 days later.
He claimed that he had turned his life around after spending most of his adult life
8 days later.
Linda Smith. They sent her here on purpose. Yeah, she was waiting for you to fuck up. I ain't gonna lie. She was waiting for you to fuck up so she could do this report.
He claimed that he had turned his life around after spending most of his adult life in prison. In fact, last year, he started working for the Queen's public defender's office. Well, now he is accused of killing a man and then dismembering his body.
Sheldon was childhood friends with a man named Colin Small, with whom he'd also spent over 10 years in prison. Therefore, upon Sheldon's release, Small was helping Johnson get back on his feet. However, at some point, their friendship took a turn. On the 6th of March 2024, police received a call from a tenant who lived in New York, claiming to have heard 2 gunshots from Colin Small's apartment, as well as a voice begging, "Please don't, I have a family." Police drove over to the flat.
Bro, what is wrong with niggas? So you just did all that. You just wrote a letter to your younger self saying you need to learn how to respond with, but not react. And this nigga, you got into some bullshit altercation. Bro was begging for his life. He got family and kids. He did the bid with you. And you killed him? And dismembered him? Is that what they finna
Knocked
say?
on the door, only to find Sheldon Johnson inside, who claimed that Colin Small had apparently gone upstate. Well, police searched the apartment and found half of Colin Small's body, finding the other half back at Sheldon's apartment, in addition to concrete and a Tyvek suit. CCTV outside Colin's apartment showed Sheldon Johnson entering and exiting, trying to conceal his identity with a...
Bro, we know that's you. We think you a female? You really think you Terry Crews from White Chicks, huh, nigga? You got to...
range of different disguises. In one of these stills, he's seen wearing the exact...
What the fuck is... Man...
same jacket as he was in a photo he took for the Queen's Defenders. Sheldon was therefore arrested and charged with Colin's murder, screaming "I'm innocent" as he was placed into the cop car. Sheldon maintained this innocence all the way to court.
Yesterday, Sheldon Johnson pleaded not guilty to the charges. He had quite a few supporters inside the courtroom.
As the comments on his episode changed overnight. Imagine being locked up for being wronged by the system for over 25 years, only to prove that the system was right. Amazing. The judge who gave him 50 years must feel pretty smart right now. I really believed I was gonna die in prison. Well, you're not wrong, buddy. Sheldon's own father stated, "I'm surprised my son was arrested. I was shocked. He learned and studied in prison for 26 years. He is a good man. He was doing work in a law office. There were no problems, but I doubt nobody was as shocked as Josh Dubin." He ended Sheldon Johnson's episode stating,
I'm very thoughtful in who I bring on. I think this was one of the best ones yet.
but is still yet to talk publicly since Sheldon's new allegations. Joe, on the other hand, talked about it recently.
He was guilty before, and we knew he was guilty, but he got 50 years.
Right.
And then he was talking about he turned his life around this, like, a month after he was on the podcast. Cut some dude's head off. Homie didn't understand new HD security cameras.
Theorizing that prison had only made him worse.
Was that because he spent 25 fucking years in jail, which is an insane amount of time to be locked up.
No! Nigga, you do a crime where you can possibly take somebody's life, they need to send your ass up the road, bruh. Hell no. Don't blame the system on you cutting a nigga head off and what the fuck? Joe, you're tweaking. But, hey, let me know in the comments how y'all feel about that. That is a very... I wonder how much time he got now. We know he doing life, but I wonder what sentence he got. Yeah, his ass is guilty. You're going down, buddy.